Hello everyone, this is Venom Geek Media here, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to look at an actual LEGO system MOC that I have made, and today that is going to be my LEGO Star Wars Rebel V-Wing fighter MOC. So a bit of background on this, and obviously it's non-canon. Essentially, we all know of the V-Wing as this very obscure fighter that appears at the end of Revenge of the Sith. And it was kind of a prototype TIE fighter, using the same technology that was used on the Jedi Interceptors. Now, clearly by the time of the original films, they'd been phased out of use, and so the Rebellion used their own V-Wing fighter that is very different. I personally chose to call it V-Wing, well, because it looked like a V, and because I wanted it to emulate the V-bombers, the British V-bombers of old. So, let's get into it. Forgive me if I'm a bit unsure of what to do during these reviews, because I've never really done anything like this before. I suppose primarily I should talk about, well, all its features. So, it is a strike bomber, as in, unlike the B-Wing, which will require escort, the V-Wing is capable of long range, striking very fast. It's very fast moving, and delivering a smaller but more precise payload to cripple specific targets, rather than the B-Wing, which is more intended for close aerial support and heavy firepower. So it's kind of a bridge, and it works for an undersupplied Rebellion, as they can use it to do quick strikes on Imperial targets without needing to use lots of escort fighters as well. And it's well capable of defending itself too. So, let's take a look at the main features. So, the design features, as you can see, this forward-mounted fuselage, which continues to back here, and then we have the main cockpit right at the front. Contained within this cockpit are the pilots, the main pilot and the co-pilot. As you can see them back there. It is a bit of a squeeze to get them both in, but I think it's believable enough, and you would need a co-pilot to operate this thing, certainly. The co-pilot in this instance is a weapon systems operator. As you can also see on the front are 4 laser cannons, which if I can turn it on its side, you can more clearly see these 4 laser cannons. They're the same type as used on the X-Wing, but shorter range, designed more primarily for deterring something to come at it front on. As well, these are the main this is their standard payload, 4 proton bombs. Although it can carry more with a suffering at its performance. But it's a light target, it's a light payload, and it's enough to devastate targets. You can also see the maneuvering vanes. Top, and also on the top we have this rear gun, and we have the engines back here. So, what are some other functions and features on here? Well, the rotary gun turret to start with, but also these wings. They fold down into an attack position. This is sort of where it's like when it's landed. Then for a cruise, they go down like this, and then for sort of combat, they go up. At this point, I actually have to lift it off the ground. It looks pretty good, but personally I prefer it in the sort of the cruising position. It just looks quite natural, and they could go all the way down for a smooth jump to hyperspace. The wings are very interestingly constructed. It's essentially 3 individual wing pieces you have this dark grey wing piece, this light grey wing piece, followed by this dark green wing piece at the very end. So it makes it very long. It's much longer than the fuselage. And it gives it a very fast appearance. The ship looks fast as well as this. Another sort of functional feature, although this is still quite in development, is you can remove, come on, there we go, the cockpit canopy, and hopefully this will all play ball, and then from this you can then just lift this all off. This whole assembly comes off, and you can see several things. So in the front compartment there is weapons storage, pretty simple, and then in here it's much harder to see in, but there is the engines, and sort of all that. So that looks really cool. It's a nice little feature that helps bring the whole thing to life, I suppose, really make it more believable. The size of this craft also aids in its believability. Often you can get quite small spaceships, but it's believable that this thing is big enough to have a hyperdrive, and also to be a bomber. It's slightly bigger than a X-Wing, but not so big as a Y-Wing. I've been calling the Y-Wing the B-Wing all along. I am terribly sorry. By that I meant the Y-Wing. It's the B-Wing's own fault. It doesn't even look like a B. That's a subject for another time, though. So yeah, I have this things I like about it. The folding wings. It's awesome. The cockpit canopy. This was actually something I've got from ages ago. It's a shark face. This is something that conceivably the Rebellion would do, particularly some pilots. The minifigures I like, they have the skin tones, although they technically use a Mars mission costume. I think they look like rebels, and certainly, the rebels wouldn't have a universalized uniform, would they? They're a rebellion. These wings are just so beautifully constructed. They're so elegant in the way they flow. I really like them. And also just the greebling, all the sort of these yellow and red, it all works very well to the ship's advantage. And also down here, the way that it sort of flows, if you can see, into one, straight. When it's straight, it all sort of flows into one shape. It's difficult for you guys to see, but yeah, how it sort of all flows into one shape. It does kind of look like a V. So more looks like a V than a B-wing looks like a B. And if if I just get this guy out the cockpit, and do a little size comparison with him and the ship, he looks, like the right size. The ship looks bigger than him. It looks significantly bigger than him. It has a lot of presence and mass behind it, and just so much flow. The colours flow together delightfully. Even the dark green at the very end, I think, works to its advantage. There's just so much colour going into this thing that it looks very alive, but certainly but also very well textured as well. So yeah, any cons? Lack of a function, really. There's no real function on this thing apart from the rotary turret and the tail, not the tail, the wings being able to fold down, but otherwise it's kind of lacking in a function, which makes it a bit of a shame. Originally I did have a bomb bay installed here, but sadly it just wasn't conducive to the overall structural integrity, which is another thing. The structural integrity of this thing is a bit iffy. Not to mention, look at it straight on, particularly the fuselage. It's quite blocky, very square, not very smooth, not very nice to look at all. that's not to say it's non-aerodynamic. There are plenty of fighter jets in history that have looked quite blockish. You know, the F4 Phantom and the MiG-25. As an homage to a V-bomber, I think it looks quite good. It looks certainly as striking as the Avro Vulcan does, which is really what I was going for. So I feel like I succeeded in that department, but, you know, certainly there's plenty to take away from this thing. Yeah, so, you know, what do you guys think for my first main MOC, my main LEGO system MOC? Do you like it? Do you think it looks Star Wars, actually, is a further question. Do you think it actually looks like it would fit in the Star Wars universe? And, you know, are there things that I could do better? If so, what and how could I do them better? Please let me know in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.